Yes, so a very warm welcome to our CE5 Europe presentation with Corinne Cornish. Just multitasking here at the moment, so please be patient with me. Yes, Corinne, one of the things I absolutely love about CE5 is that I meet unusual people who do not follow the official script, people who have awareness beyond the official reality. And Corinne is just such a person. I met Corinne on a week-long expedition on New Zealand's South Island. We were doing CE5 in the spectacular landscape of Lord of the Rings. Corinne traveled from Calgary, Canada, and I had come from Scotland. Now, Corinne is on the quiet side, and there was little chance to get to know each other in depth in the group setting, where we work really hard on group coherence. But there were little remarks here and there between us in the hallway, in the kitchen, that just registered with me. They just stayed there for later, to be picked up later. And yeah, I would think to myself, oh, that conversation just really isn't finished. And I'd like to know more about how Corinne sees this, or how she experiences that, and what happened there in the conversation. So then after the expedition, Corinne, Jeremy, and I spent a few days checking out an island in the north to see if it could serve as a setting for a permanent year-round CE5 contact village. We had lots of fun, and we had deeper conversations that I found profound and still very much incomplete. Yes, anyway, a couple of weeks ago, Corinne and I tuned into the New Zealand team expedition. We did some out-of-body ambassador practice. And again, we started having these conversations that just go in so many directions. And so I felt I'd really like to share some of this with all of you. And I'm sure that many of us doing CE5 are able to relate to experiencing reality in a different way from the official script. I'm still multitasking here, still letting people into the Zoom. Yes, so Corinne does have training in hypnotherapy, breathwork, and other such alternative scripts of reality, but her own personal experiences of realms and realities and the matrix, her own script of reality is what fascinates me. And Corinne, your own script of reality starts before you were born. Let me see, where are we? Yes, shall we start there, Corinne?
Indeed, and I just want to start, Una, by just really thanking you so much for having me. It is an absolute pleasure just to share. And I have to say, I so adore my New Zealand star family, including Andre in Australia, and the wonderful people that I meet through CE5. And also I'm part of a group in Calgary. So it's such an enlightening experience to be a part of a group who think really outside of the box and in the alternative realm. So such a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yes, we definitely will start before I was born. And this really has to do with my parents and an experience that my parents had, in fact. And it was before they were married, and it was while they were dating. And this happened to the both of them. And I'm going to plant that seed, a time frame there. I'm going to freeze that. And then I'm going to move forward in time to when I actually discovered what was going on. I was in my late teens. I was going to university. I was living with my parents. I was in the kitchen doing something. My mother was watching the TV, and she leapt off the couch. She turned towards me and she said, "That happened to us." I had no idea what she was talking about. And she subsequently tuned me into the program that she was watching, which was at the time, way back when, Unsolved Mysteries. And it's actually quite a well-known episode called the Allagash abductions. And this was about 4 young men who went out onto the lake in their canoe, and they saw a bright light. And the next thing they remembered, they were back on the shore. Well, this is what my mom had seen. This is what she leapt up off of the couch from, turned around and said, "This happened to us." Well, I was speechless. I had no idea what she was talking about. And subsequently, this has been now a couple decades now of this story continuing to unravel. Even last week, she told me something new. So this triggered a memory in her, and she it's not like she didn't have the memory, but it came to the forefront so much that she was actually then willing to talk about it. She had never talked about it before. My father had never talked about it before. And of course, there's me saying, what happened? So let's backtrack then to my parents. They were dating, and they went to a lake, Sylvan Lake. And interestingly, a lot of activity often happens around water and happens around lakes. And so, as best as I can hopefully describe the story to you, is that they went out to the lake, and my father always drives, and particularly his car. It's his car. They went out to the edge of the lake, and it was dusk. And I've tried to get like even a timeline, but for me in the story, the timeline is the sun, where the sun's position was. And so even asking them last week, they said it wasn't dark, it was dusk. So as they were sitting in their car, watching this sunset over the lake at the end of a road, the next thing they remember is they both open their eyes at the same time. The sun had already come up. So I'm thinking, and this is summertime, and summertime here, it's a late sunset. So anywhere between 10:30 and potentially 6 a.m. I'm feeling that with the time frame. They both opened their eyes at the same time. They both looked at each other. And this is the twist in the story. My mother is sitting in the driver's seat, and my father's sitting in the passenger seat. Now, for them, this just isn't possible. And for them, this is what actually has allowed them to understand that something happened. Because when they woke up, and my mom in particular, she remembered that there wasn't a feeling of soreness in her body. There was no memory of the evening. And imagine sitting behind a front wheel. There was nothing of that. And she just remembered, why, if I was in the front seat, is my body not sore? And why don't I remember moving around? And we were sitting here for the entire evening, or sleeping potentially, and we just had no memory. So they woke up at the same time, looked at each other. My dad got out of the passenger seat, walked around the car, went into the driver's seat. My mom slid over, and they went home and they didn't talk about it. And that was it. And they had no context or understanding or really anything that they could really sink their teeth into. So what happened until that day when my mom watched that program, and then of course there's me who really started to help them unravel the story. Now I kind of do joke, I was not born 9 months later. I was born 3 years later, but still, who knows? I'm not sure. So this has been sort of a pivotal moment in my life where I always wonder what happened. And they're now in their late 70s. And I have to say that they are two people who would not make this up. So, and I was telling Una earlier that I just got permission from my mother yesterday to actually put their story on camera. So I'm so excited about that. And so, that will become...
Corinne, they didn't talk to each other either about it, or did they?
No, not at all. They didn't talk. They thought it was strange. They thought it was weird. They thought, okay, well, and they didn't have any context. So of course I'm feeling, well, your memory was wiped. They took your memory from you. And there's some kind of like a suppression of even wanting to speak about it. Similarly to the program that my mom saw, the 4 young men, they didn't really talk about it either. And so I think they were clues into that program that allowed her to understand that what happened to them happened to her. So that was all very synchronous for her and them. So moving forward, and that has really allowed me, that allowed my mind, even into my late teens, to step even further beyond where I already was. But let's backtrack even further with me, because that was sort of a seed of non-terrestrials, maybe we can say, and that really helping me to understand that there's way more to this reality than I was ever told, that we were ever told, that humanity's ever told, and that I feel right now is what we're uncovering, and what's being revealed. So backing up into my reality.
Hold on, Corinne. So what age were you when you first found out about this, when your mother saw the program?
Yeah, so I was in university. So I must have been about 19, maybe 20, okay. 19 or 20. Yeah. And so that really, it's been this sort of this excitement that I always, every time they talk about it, even if it's 100 times over, I still am on the edge of the table listening to them, because I'm amazed. So, which isn't so surprising. I feel with, I guess this really, I'm going to really go meta on this in my incarnation into this life, because I have a memory of when I was 3, and I remember walking and only seeing the sidewalk. I wasn't very tall, so the sidewalk was close to me, and I looked at the grass, and I think I saw a butterfly, and something came into my head that said, everything is connected. Everything is connected. And that was it. But it stuck with me. That was a seed of thought. And then when I was a little bit older, around 6, I was in a preschool play school.
Corinne, when you say everything's connected, were those words you heard, or was there a feeling and an experience of everything's connected?
Una, it's like a 3-year-old mind. I think I'm going to say words because I remember the words, and it was also a feeling, because I remembered thinking, oh, I'm connected to the grass. Oh, I'm connected to the sidewalk. Oh, I'm connected to I'm pretty sure there was a butterfly. Mm-hmm. We're all connected. And it just felt natural to me. It felt like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I get that. Okay, let and that felt right. So it seems like, and as we go on, it feels like there are messages that have been, fortunately, that I've remembered and I've given credit to, that have been extremely significant in me linking up or connecting the dots. And I've talked to you, Una, about this, about, is there a prophecy in my life? Are things planted into my reality so I can remember? And it's remembering who I am. And I don't know if anyone else has this feeling, but it's almost like a revealing of oneself, or remembering of oneself, or a reconnection of oneself. So that was one at 3, and a significant one at 6. And I was holding hands with a group of children, and we were so ecstatically happy, and we were sort of being whipped around in this song dance, and I was laughing so hard, and I looked up, and there was a light from the ceiling, the light that came through the ceiling. And I remember this light and this extreme joy, and this light came piercing through. And for whatever, in that moment, I connected this light with joy, and it went into my heart and my being.
You were in this reality, you were a child and you were dancing with children.
That's right.
Inside, and you looked up to the ceiling and saw that.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And so it was so significant of this feeling, and it was feeling, and like as an adult now I can contextualize words as like it's a frequency. It was visceral. I embodied this absolute joy connected to light. And so as I got older, I was really curious, thinking, what was this light? What was this light that I actually saw? So I actually went back to this building as an adult, because my curiosity, I just had to know. So I went back into this building, again, early 20s, and they didn't really know what I was talking about. I was like, I went to play school, preschool here, and something happened in the room, and I just need to see your ceiling. So I went back into the room, and sure enough, there was a skylight there. So I must have seen the sun through this skylight, but to me, it was a light. Mm-hmm. So this seed of joy at this young age, which was really planted in me, which I feel even now, again, as we go through life, many things happen and experiences happen, and it's the revealing of that, the reconnection with that as well. So fast forward to 9, and 9 was really probably the most conscious pivotal, I'm going to say, awakening that I had when it was suggested that it would be good for me to go to Sunday school, which I tried on, and I gave it my best for one time. And I came home, and I was at the end of a hallway in our home, and the door was open at the end of this hallway, and I had my head kind of in this hallway. My mother was somewhere else in the house, and I just said, I'm not going to Sunday school anymore. And I heard her from somewhere in the house say, well, you might need God's help one day. And without skipping a beat, without hesitation, something happened to me in that moment. And I can even feel it now. And each time I feel it, it actually gets greater and greater. But it was a recognition that, and I said to her, no, I won't. That answer will be in me. And that's all I said. And that's all she said. She doesn't remember this conversation, but it was pivotal for me. And in that moment, what I recognized was that the structure, that what came to me was the structure of power. And I mean, again, 9-year-old consciousness in the context that I could understand it. The structure of power that someone would seek help outside of themselves, that they would not know that that was in themselves, completely blew open my belief and understanding of what was going on in reality. Not only power, personal power, but then because this came through an avenue of religion, what religion as a structure was, and that power structure has been placed, that power has been placed outside of people into this belief system. So that really started my journey at 9 of understanding that I saw reality different. I could from that point on understood that what I felt was inside of me, people felt was exterior to them. And that really created, I mean, as a 9-year-old, it was a little bit isolating. Well, it was a lot isolating. However, not in a bad way. I just started to see the world differently. My friends, of course, weren't like this at all. So over time, and even sort of fast tracking to now, it really has allowed me to understand that the structures that we live in have been created from an externalized power source, meaning there's not, and this is how I've defined it, is that the truth in these structures haven't been revealed. We haven't been told the truth, even the truth about humanity, the truth of our origin, the truth of so many things. And what I understood in that moment is at 9 was that there's nothing more important than source. And what happened then as a teenager really unfolded quickly. And then I started to question the source of my food, the source of any products I put on my skin, the source of anything that came into my reality. What was the source? As a very young tweener, I think even tween 11, 12, 13, I started to become a vegetarian. We were hamburgers every weekend, steaks every weekend. This is a beef eating province here. We raise a lot of cattle. And so there was no reason for me to start to incorporate these types of this lifestyle. And something just started to come into me, and it was really connected to source, and always going back to source. And over the years, what's really come to me is that this, again, going back to structures, and I'll probably refer to this more, but the structures that we've created, I feel, aren't integral in the energy of true source. So, and I feel what's happening right now. And when something's not integral in its foundation, it begins to crumble. I'm very curious about the time we're in. And so maybe, we'll definitely get to that. So even at that time, even going into my mid-teens, I started to make decisions for my life that was very pivotal. And the strangest of things, like I decided that I wasn't getting married. And it wasn't, not that I didn't believe in relationships and not that I didn't believe in love, but there was something around the contract. I had no idea why, but the actual physical contract of marriage, no. And not to say that I couldn't make that agreement in my heart, but something around the contract of marriage didn't sit well with me. So these decisions that were made, and then I just busted out into my later mid to late teens, just like what is this God? What is God? What is this capital G God? I'm going to be an atheist. This isn't real. Whatever's happening, that's not for me. So the pendulum swung, right? The law of rhythm, the pendulum swung right the other way for me. And which has, though, come back to my understanding of source. And so that's kind of where that went. So what happened from there, I made a move, and I made a move, and I made a big move, and I went to the other side of the planet, and I lived in Asia and Japan for over a year. And I feel like getting out of this Western mindset was pivotal in my development. And I got introduced to an Eastern mindset. And in Japan, there was Buddhism and Shintoism, and it helped me to understand that there actually is a different way of thinking. And it helped me open my mind even further to that there is a light within, and there is a power within, and that what I had been shown before is actually a reality that I've chosen to live. So, and I dabbled in Buddhism for a while, and I really love that. And I don't hold on to anything, any kind of doctrine or discipline tightly, because that is not, I don't feel in alignment with that other than my own truth. So what I though have kind of morphed into, and I do allow myself to, as a foundation, I work with some of the physical laws, and the Hermetic principles really, really resonate with me. And specifically in the last several years, the law of polarity. And one of the things that I understood in this the reality that we live in is that this 3D reality exists in the energetics of a polarity duality. And I committed myself to really, really, really understanding this law, because to really understand this law has allowed me to understand myself more, the polarity within myself, and oh my gosh, over the last year, the polarity in reality and the polarization that's happening has helped me immensely. And there's the law of vibration, the law of rhythm, and these things are just, for me, what I landed in is energetics, the laws of energy and how they ring really true for me. And when I relate it to CE5, and when we went to New Zealand, and Jeremy Cloak, I'm going to give you a big plug here, because you really laid down such the importance of heart resonance and group coherence and unity consciousness, and just a language that really reflected the whole essence of why I feel so attracted to CE5, because there's the language itself exists in a vibration that is just high vibe for me. I mean, and that's anything that exists in that realm is so attracting and very attractive. So, yeah, and a plug for Celia Hatch, who connected me to Jeremy Cloak for sure. So there we go. So that then therefore became my foundation of reality. And since then, there have been messages that have again been dropped, and there was an Arcturian message that came through at some point. Perhaps it was a reading that I had, and it said, "Be the frequency of the reality that you wish to create." And more recently, as I'm understanding this current reality, I'm feeling that there's nothing more important to those of us who have chosen this path of awakening, to be really mindful and heartful and aware and conscious of our own frequencies. And we have the ability then to be able to speak this language with each other, because it really is, I really do feel at this moment, frequency, wherever that pendulum swings on that law of rhythm, whether the frequency is of a light frequency or a lack of light frequency, that's really playing out right now in our reality. And one of the things that I again, going back to CE5, is that I love the way that we play in the realm of high vibrational, and that we get together and we ground our energies, and we connect in with those families, that galactic family that at least for me, that I know that I'm a part of, that I am quite certain that they know that we're a part of them as well. And that in time, and I hope to see that timing, that we actually connect. We connect to that knowingness that we have within us. So yeah, just the CE5 pops in all the time for me. And you know, and it does remind me, and there are certain teachers that pop into my reality, and Tesla just saying, you know, if you want to know about reality, then really understand and know what frequency, vibration, and energy is all about. And that really speaks my language as well. So what really happened, and I go back to that age of 9, something happened in my own matrix. We all have our own matrices, but something happened in my own matrix, my own energy field, that really allowed me to see clearly for myself. And I'm the only one to see my own reality, but see, I think what's going on right now is really where I come to. And so one of my adventures into stepping outside of this reality is, again, in my early 20s, pivotal time in my early 20s, was to go into exploration of OBEs, which is out-of-body experiences. And while this was going on, I mean, I've had so many experiences, I can't even describe them all. There was an interplay with lucid dreaming within that, and OBEs within that. And I'll share one experience that happened. I had my dream journal next to me, and I had a voice that came through very loud, one early morning. I was sleeping, and it said, "You must write this down. You must write this down." And I'm not the best at waking up early or turning on a light or writing something down, but it was so imperative that I got my pen and I got my journal and I wrote this word down, and I shut off the light and I went back to sleep. And in the morning I knew something had happened, and I read this word, and this word I thought was the name of the aromatherapy shop down the road. And so I decided to look it up on the internet, dial up, at the time. And this image appeared. And the word was ascension. And so I read the description and I looked at the image. I sent you that image, Una. And so I thought, well, that's very interesting. Although I wasn't connected to the whole movement of it, the whole consciousness of it, the reality of it, the possibility of it. And this appeared. This is what was on the page. And the word was ascension. The word was ascension. And so I read the description and I looked at the image. I sent you that image, Una. And so I thought, well, that's very interesting. Although I wasn't connected to the whole movement of it, the whole consciousness of it, the reality of it, the possibility of it. And this appeared. This is what was on the page. And the word was ascension. The word was ascension. And so I read the description and I looked at the image. I sent you that image.
Okay, just one minute.
Una?
So I thought, well, that's very interesting. Just 1 minute. I wasn't connected to the whole. Where's that happening? Of it, the whole consciousness of
YouTube.
It, the reality of it, the possibility. There we go. Sorry about that.
Great. Yeah, great. And so that image came through, and that was really it. Until one of my star sisters in New Zealand, Ginny, she posted in the last 8 months, she posted that image on her wall. That was the second time I saw that image. And someone did comment, Saint Germain, it's from the I Am teachings, but I didn't know. I had no idea, no clue. So Jeannie posted that on her wall, and I looked at it. That's the image that I saw. I thought I printed it, and I haven't been able to find the picture, and I hadn't had reference to it until I saw it on her social media post. And then so this was about 8 months ago. About 5 months ago, my friend who was, she was unfortunately wasn't well. And so I went to see her, and I walked in her room, and she had a 2-foot poster of this on her wall. So that was the 3rd time I saw it. And she's the one who told me about its origin. So it went from about 20 years, and then 8 months ago, then 4 months ago. And then I went to my neighbor's house for a fire in the backyard, and I started to tell him the story, and he said, "Pass me your phone." And he looked up the website, and he showed me this image from the Saint Germain I Am teachings. Now, I'm not connected to these teachings, but clearly I'm connected to this essence of this message. And then it was in the last 2 months, again, that this image appeared through a video that I was watching. And I happened to look up at the exact time that a woman said to the person she was interviewing, and she shows this image, and it's this image. So what's happening is that this image is decreasing in the amount of time that it's showing up in my reality. Now, again, I have no idea why. I can guess. What I'm feeling is that whatever this is getting closer and closer. And it's a bit of a mystery. I would say life is a mystery right now, but I'm just going with it. And this is the latest one was in this video, and that was maybe 5 weeks ago. Interestingly, the woman who my friend Lori, when I walked into her bedroom, she ended up passing in January. And the night that I found out that she had passed, I was walking out of a building, and the parking lot had parking lot lamps that had 2 lamps on each side. They were all amber. And when I got into my car, I noticed that one of the lights went out. And when it came back on as a white light. It didn't come back on as an amber light. The light was actually white. And all of the other lights in their respective lamps in the parking lot were still amber. And then it went out, and then it went on, and then it went out. It did this 3 times. And I thought, oh, that's Lori. That's Lori coming to see me. And things happen to me in 3s. And so this word that came through to me in Ascension, there were 2 more words that came through exactly the same way. Wake up, write this word down. In all of the 3 words that I was given to write down, I had no idea what they meant. I had no clue, which is probably good for me because I don't attach any meaning to it. And the second word that came through, and I wrote it down, and I had to almost phonetically spell it out, Adonai, Adonai. I mean, I had no idea. And this one's still even a little bit of a mystery to me. And when I did look it up, and as far as my understanding, and I have really no understanding of this, it's the highest form or name of God in Hebrew. I don't have any connection to that teaching or that religion at all, but there we go. And so there's something in that. There's something in the God self or the source self within that. And then the third one that came through was Avatar. And that was before the movie came out as well. So I wasn't connected with that. And Avatar. So I'm left with these three interesting clues into my timeline that are still unraveling themselves. And and so while I was still exploring these OBEs, while I was exploring this, one of my understandings is that when I would wake up into a lucid dream, what was really important to me was to have a question right away, because my excitement would take me right out of it. And in my exploration of these OBEs, I quickly understood. So one of my first questions was, is this reality that I think is reality, is it the same as the lucid dream reality that I'm in? And I woke up into that, and I remember I was on a beach and I picked up the sand, and the sand was real and the sky was real. The colors were more vibrant. And I absolutely, without a doubt, like in my heart and in my body, and that's really, I feel, the only way we really only know truth is when we viscerally feel it. So I know without a doubt that, and I've even come to postulate that potentially this is the dream. This is actually the dream. And this is a waking dream that we're in. So I have met, I met one of the more significant experiences, and I don't even know this is an OBE, and I'll just put a plug in here. Jeremy Cloak, New Zealand, the New Zealand CE5 group is developing an app at the moment, because he has a brilliant idea of connecting in with non-terrestrial forms through OBEs and connecting in with them that way. So I give a big plug to him and his app, and once it's out, I highly recommend it. Definitely been on the beta testing with that. So I did have an experience in what I don't know what it was, but I woke up in a reality where I knew one person who lives in this reality, and my friend Sandy, and when she spoke, I understand her, but every single other person around me, their language was slightly off. I couldn't understand them. And I was confused, and she looked at me and said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Sandy, I don't understand anyone. Who are these people?" And she looked at me like I was crazy. She said, you got to pull it together. Like, you have things to do. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't even know where I am. And I could genuinely feel her not getting me, and she knew who I was. And apparently in that life I had a partner, and apparently in that life I had a meeting I needed to go to, and apparently in that life I had things to do, and I was completely a fish out of water. And that situation stuck with me for some time. And it was only until, it's interesting because my mom had this experience of like, ta-da, when I was listening to a program, Jimmy Church program, Fade to Black, and he had a woman on who, when she went to sleep, she was going to another reality, but the people on that reality understood what was going on, and they welcomed her, and they got it. So I guess I would say, as close as I can label something in sort of language form, would be a parallel reality, that I woke up into a parallel reality and I had no idea. So definitely so much is available to us, and is through experience, that we haven't been told, this is me and my justice and truth coming out, we haven't been told, hasn't been shared with us, hasn't been revealed to us. And this is definitely part of my mission on this planet, is get to the root of it, which is again my training, like get to the source of it, get to the root of it, get to the root belief of it, and let's get that truth out. Let's reveal that. And I know even going into CE5s that the ability to connect and the ability to resonate in a space that has the ability to get attention from the most incredibly amazing experiences out there, that we have that power. That power is within us. And I will go back to that power. And that's what I was shown at 9. That power is being displaced. And I'll kind of bring up Jimi Hendrix here. But one of his quotes said, the world will know peace when there's a shift from the love of power to the power of love. And I really, really, really feel we're in that right now as people continue to awaken to that power shift, because that's already within us and that's already there. And that's, again, I just kind of get butterflies and giggles, going into CE5 and knowing that, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we already know. We already know that. And we're going to the next level of communication and contact and disclosure. And yeah. So so that's you kind of lost my train of thought because I got really excited there. I have had other experiences as well in my dream OBE state where I have been at a meeting like a coliseum, and they were non-terrestrials, non-earthlings there. I'm mindful of language here. I don't know what we have to, I can't say, but non-earthlings there. And recently in the past few months, an Alpha Centurion, 9-year-old boy came to visit me. And interestingly, my brother, who has exited, it would be the same age as he would have been. So I'm very suspect to wonder whether that was him. And I asked this boy, where are you from? And he said, Alpha Centauri. And I said, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm looking for someone. But then it ended. So that's a bit of a mystery too. That ends in a mystery. So when kind of at the same time, a little bit later actually, and I do want to bring my brother in because there's so multi-layered, as he just popped in, and as he does. There are a number of circumstances around my brother and his story that really was a pivotal moment in me shifting, transitioning, helping me to understand the very thin veil between the physical and the non-physical. And it was 2007 in the fall, around my birthday in October, and he was insistent that I come to see him. And now he lived in the northern Canada, and it's only forest there, thick forest. And so I really felt his urgency. So I jumped in the car, boarded a car, jumped in the car, drove 9 hours straight north, found him in the forest. We spent a couple days together. And I drove away, and then messages started to appear, but I had no context to what they were connected to. And I stopped at a side road rest stop, and as I was going to the bathroom, there was a poster on the wall of a missing person. And I thought, that must be really hard for families that have to deal with that. Didn't think about it. So this was October, November, December, January. And I had spoken, my brother was in most closest contact with me. And I talked to him the most on his phone. And after having spent a couple of days with him, his phone was always with him. And in January, he stopped answering his phone. And in February, his messages filled up. And in March, I thought there was something that was going on. I thought that there was something that had happened, but because there was no contact and we had no idea. And then what started to happen is that, and his name was Dennis, his name started to appear. So I went to a sandwich shop in a very small town, well, small city in southern Alberta, and I look up on the sandwich board and there was the Dennis special. I would see license plates with his name. I would see bus stops with his name on the bus stop. I went hiking and random hiking place, the name of the mountain, Mount Dennis. And that's when I really began to feel that he was connecting with me, because there's no way. And he's a bit of his name isn't a very popular name, but he started to contact me. And at that point, though, we had no idea what happened to him. And we contacted the RCMP, it was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, our national police force, and we got them involved. And one thing led to another, and they got more and more involved. And that led to really the conclusion of foul play, basically. Not really going into the details on that, but what started to happen is that, and I think the biggest message that came through was when I went to a friend's place, and he lived in Vancouver, which is 12 hours west of me on the coast. And I needed to use a computer, and I sat down at his computer, and there was a sticky note pad next to his computer. And the name on the sticky note was Dennis. And at this point, I just could not, I couldn't put it out of my head anymore. And I couldn't stop the denial that I was in, because I didn't feel he was on this side doing that. He had to have been on the other side. And so as time went on, I would get flashes of him, then into my OBE practice. I would start to see him. I would start to talk to him. And there was one instance where fortunately, I kept my emotion neutral to be able to stay into it. And I saw him, and my parents were there, and I said to him, we were all together, the forest, and I said, do you know that you're not in that other reality, but you're in this reality? And he was really like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, he didn't care. He was all good with it. I don't know, but I was able to meet him, fortunately, through my work into the OBEs and lucid dreaming, that I was able to actually connect with him, which was beautiful, beautiful. And he actually showed me visions of we decided 2 years later to at least have a memorial for him, because we needed at least some kind of formalized closure, that he showed me everything that was going to happen, basically me leading it. And I just said, hey, you can't show me this right now. I need further closure for me to be able to really be able to go through this. And it wasn't until that morning of the memorial that everything that he showed me transpired exactly the way that I saw. So he in this life, we lived on the edge. We lived on the edge. I live outside of the box. He lived outside of another box. But we connected with our extreme edginess, alternativeness. And I did go into a medicine session, and he clearly came through. So much so that I feel like I dealt with probably years of grief in 2 hours. And he came through, and I had to really rid myself of all my grief and embody it and integrate it and transcend it. To then he said, you were my teacher in this life. Will you allow me to be your teacher for you? And I said, absolutely. So he's still with me. And he actually, truly, as strange as that whole surreal story was about his disappearance, that was such a pivotal moment in me understanding that the veil between the physical and non-physical is very minor. In fact, I talked to a woman who died twice, and she said, it's like walking from the kitchen to the living room. That's what it's like. So I really appreciated that. And if anything, especially over this last year and my own internal process of death, is it's another experience. It's a transition. It's from one potentially organic being body to another, if that's what we choose. So yeah, he's always with me. And one of the things when I was with him last time, and I sent Una some pictures, and I would like to share with you, which when I took these pictures of him, I had no idea what was in these pictures. There he is. There's Dan. So within these pictures, and I only recently after seeing them once I took them, realized what was in these pictures. And there are some significant orbs in these pictures. And this is something that along the way, especially CE5, I picked up in that I have a really old, very small Canon, old-time digital camera, which for me, and other people have tried it with their digitals, orbs come my way. Orbs show up. So if you can see that on the screen, right in front of his chest is a very, very large orb. Now, I am so thankful that I actually was able to pick this up at my, yeah, there you go. You can see it's very large and very significant. This was the day after I left, and that was the last time I saw him. So let's see what comes up. Yeah. So just to the right of that blue, it's a chair actually. To the right of that, between that blue chair and the coffee mug set up against the back. No, his body was never found. Yes, he was. He definitely did some work with him on bringing him to the light and releasing him. Thanks for that question. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can see that one there. And so this isn't, when I take these pictures, interestingly, and this was on, I can't even remember what this was taken on into what camera, but I do bring out my little camera. And this one, I feel this is really significant, this one. They're on either side of his head. Very large, very significant. And I feel this was more for me because for years I had pictures and they were always there in my digital camera, in my digital photos. And it wasn't until one day I don't know what happened, but one day I saw them, and then I went back into all my digital photos, and there they were. I couldn't see them before, and now I can. So it's something that has just come into my attunement of my vision and my field, that I see them very quickly now. So I feel that this was more for me rather than for him, but for me, that even before, because he was alive, even before he was gone, that this was his path, and that he was being guided, and there was guidance with him. Yeah. And earlier on, Una and I zoomed right into these, and you get almost an image of a pink and a green. And so I don't know if this will actually come through into the screen, but yeah. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a sort of an anecdote into sort of the physical, non-physical realms. And I do feel that, in translating that into the CE5 world, there's definitely an interplay between the physical, the interdimensional, the dimensions, even orbs, even lights, even whatever that may be. It really, in my context, it's allowing ourselves to step out of the reality of form, the reality of I'll only believe it if I see it, and to really understand that there's so much more than we know. There's so much more out there than what we have been led to believe. And I hold space that the truth of, oh my gosh, I have no idea what the truth is. All I feel is that the truth hasn't been revealed, and that there has been an intention for that truth not to be revealed. So I'm really holding space that hopefully in my lifetime, the truth of who we are, what we are, where we came from is revealed. And that's something that I'm definitely passionate about as well. So, and getting into that. Let's see, where else can I go? It does a little bit lead me into all of really what I've talked about is, I think Una titled this The Matrix, right? And stepping out of the matrix. And after all of these experiences that I've had, and I can only imagine the experiences that you've all had in your realities, that we add all of this up, and the reality that we live in is so much more than it is so much more than is that we're being offered. And it's been, I've heard recently words being thrown around like, this is, is this an inverted matrix? Is sort of inside out or upside down, or it's in the wrong arrangement. And in some ways, the reality I feel that we're living in, and I only go on, well, what's happening? Is everything in harmony right now? No. Are we all cooperating with each other? No. So I'm only reading the energetics of what's happening, but I do believe, and if we take the law of rhythm, there's a pendulum right now that is being swung, and that pendulum is really being pulled to one side right now. And it's continuing to be pulled for the purpose, so people can see how much out of synchronicity, out of our true nature we are, out of the realm of harmony that we're in, so greatly. It is kind of like that breakdown, breakthrough. we're still there. We're not even at the tipping point yet. I have no idea if there will be or what that will be. I do feel, though, there's still that force that's being pulled in that direction. And I get how I have sensations of it, and I do have images of it, but I do feel that if anything, that we are, and if we talk about the matrix, and we have our own matrix, and matrix is belief, a belief, the consciousness that we exist in with our own belief systems and matrix. And so not only have we, I am sure many of us, on this call, we have had our own experiences of stepping out of the presumed matrix and seeing reality from a different point of view, so much so that, of course, we're sitting in our CE5 groups. That takes a leap. That takes a big leap just to be out there, and be open to that and have no fear. And oh my gosh, that definitely has come up in my understanding. I got home from New Zealand last year in March, and when I left for New Zealand, it was February, and nothing really was going on. When I came back in March, it was a completely different reality that I came home to. And then there was kind of a slow boil with people, and things were happening, and I came and right back into the hot water, and I really understood how detrimental that fear as an energy, as a frequency, was having onto people, and how that's really driven this pendulum swing. Interestingly, I'm going to say purposeful. And how everyone has processed, interpreted, and move forward or not with this energy of fear. Because if anything, if I take the energetics of love, the opposite and the polarity of love is lack of love. And if we take that, and the lack of love is really fear. So are we not experiencing, yes, polarization, but are we not experiencing this reality that I feel in the essence of who we are, and the source of who we are is not that, but we're in this reality of experience, that which we're not? I'm glad I can laugh about it. It's not a laughing matter, but at some point, I'm looking for a breakthrough within it all. Because I really do feel as a society and as humanity, we are being asked to see this and to feel this and feel the impact of this, of whatever's happening. And I'm not even going to go into whatever is happening. I just can feel what's happening. So what I do feel is that the systems that were created, and this goes back to my 9-year-old consciousness, the systems that were created, and whatever systems, whether the systems that were created, whether they're the educational or the political, economic, the environmental, the financial systems, what were the energetics that were created of that foundation? I'm just going to say, I don't feel that was based on integrity. Don't feel that was based on cooperation. Don't feel that was based in harmony. And in fact, the foundation of those systems were really based on really lack of integrity and greed and corruption and lack of truth and lack of love. But this is the thing with any kind of foundation. If you build a building that doesn't have a strong foundation, ultimately it's going to crumble. And I really do feel ultimately that's what's happening right now, is we're witnessing the crumble of reality. And our galactic family, they're waiting on this awakening of this consciousness to happen on this earth, so our reunion can actually happen. And we're not meant to idolize them. We're not meant to see them as gods. And we're not meant to put them on an altar. We're meant to just be family. But we've got to, as a society, just got to wake up to what we have been saying yes to. We have been saying yes to this reality, and people are gonna. I've got pushback from this. It's like, I have not been saying yes to this. It's like, whoa, just go back. What have you been saying yes to? Yes, we've been waking up. We're waking up, but there's a whole lot of people that are still saying yes to this type of reality that we've been living in, and I liken it to the Truman Show. If you haven't seen it, see it. And it's just kind of like this man living in a reality that it's in a reality TV show and everyone else is watching him for entertainment. And I'm like, are we the reality TV show? Well, he started to figure things out. I feel we're starting to figure things out about what the structure's being built on. And for all of those reasons, we won't go into all of those reasons. I hope they come out. But let's get to the real reality and real understanding of what we know. CE5ers know that this we is in our hearts and in our souls and in our spirit of the essence of who we are. That's the truth. That's what we're really going for. And so, as we patiently wait and we patiently do what we do in our own communities and in our own ways to continue to ground the light, that and everyone feels, I'm sure they have their own mission, their own purpose, and definitely as comrades within our own C5 groups, that's what we're here for. When is reality not a reality? Reality is only from our own perception. Reality is only what we perceive. And so my reality is completely different from anyone else's reality. And so that's when I feel, what a great question. We can only operate from our own reality and truth of what we feel is within us. So in fact, I would actually ask that back on to everyone else. What is your reality? And what do you want your reality to be? Right? And I feel that for us, that's what we're being asked to do right now, is get clear on who we are. Ancient teaching, one of my foundational teachings, who am I? Who am I? That we could talk about that forever, think about that, contemplate that, meditate on that forever. I think that's the essence of us going back into really showing up into this reality. So, and that I do reference the Truman Show, and that was almost, I feel like, a pseudo documentary, and we've accepted the world the way it's presented. And we're coming back to understanding that maybe that's not the way that's our nature. Going to source, what is our nature? Who am I? What is our source? And ultimately, I feel those are the fundamental questions that even as CE5ers, we come to in our own individual, we come together as not only in heart resonance and group coherence. And before we even get into a group, I offer the invitation of us as CE5ers to go into our groups and get clear on our own coherence and our own resonance, and what platform, what foundation are we operating from, and if there's still anything to clear or look at or whatever that is, we're only so much better to show up not only in our lives but for our groups, for our contact, for our connections. So that's definitely something, and I went into that last year into New Zealand, that in something that and actually the year before actually as well, and just offering the invitation to ask ourselves as we come into our groups, and really ask ourselves, what is it that I'm contributing to this group, and how am I personally connecting to my heart? How am I personally connecting to the group coherence of these lovely people that I'm in circle with as we show up? Because I have been in groups when the coherence was a little bit off, and that's okay. We're all learning. It's not a good or a bad. And I've been in groups where the coherence was mind-blowing. And there's the different feeling. And I know that I'm the only one to show up in contributing to that. So yeah, we are we are not the reality TV show. We are not that, and I refuse to be that anymore. And I choose to deepen into what it is that was ringing true for me. And it's for me to go back into my timeline. And I invite everyone, if that resonates with you, to go back into your timeline. And what, if there were any, if at all, clues to who you are that allows you to connect the dots into who you are in this moment and why you're here, that might be there for you as a message, your own timeline of prophecy. So yeah.
Yeah, Corinne, absolutely wonderful. And as you're talking, so many questions pop up. I guess we're never going to be finished with this conversation, but let's see if there's any questions. Are you okay with,
of course,
opening up to questions? So I will need to make it possible for everyone to unmute yourself. Okay, let's see. Yes, so if anybody would like to ask a question, just unmute yourself and ask. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, this is Torsten from Southern Germany. Actually, I can even switch my video on for that. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Hi, Corinne. Hi, Una.
Hey, Torsten.
I'd like to know, can you share your most stunning CE5 experience you ever had?
Yeah, that was actually quite recently. It's still unexplainable, which clearly, as you've been listening, most of the things that I've experienced are unexplainable. It was just this last summer, and I went camping, and it was with a friend who had never actually been out, and I was out with her, and we were in our zero gravity chairs looking at the sky, and we started to notice that there were flashes in different corners of the sky. And I can't even explain. There were no clouds. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't sheet lightning. So I ruled everything that I could out logically to then be able to transition into, okay, what could this be? So as the corners of the sky were flashing, because the trees were around us, the flashes started to get brighter, and there was nothing significant physically that we could see except just flashes. And as we started to tune into the flashes started to come back in a pattern. So flash, flash. And the flashes started to get brighter. And I can't believe anyone else couldn't see this. And so bright that it was like, how do I describe a flash? The entire sky was like a huge flash bulb, but they started to come as patterns. So flash, 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 flash. And I'm thinking, like, is this like, if I knew Morse code or some kind of code, maybe I could figure this out, but it was some like coded flash. And then the patterns of the flashes stopped. And then the flashes started to get more intense. And it was like a flash, like the color of lightning, bright and, for me, white. And what it ended on was a flash so bright that it was extreme, like this. And I mean, like in the center of the sky, a white circle, flash circle so big that it flashed and it held, but in the center of it, I could see through to the stars. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a craft. And then it disappeared. And it was like, we couldn't speak. I said to my friend, did you see that? She said, I saw that. And my first question was, and my question to her the whole time was, and what do you think it was? And she said, just the first thing that came out of her mouth, she said, I think it was a portal. So that's, and it, you know what? And for me, when I see things, when I've seen things in CE5s, it's been more light related. That's been my experience, where there's an orb or a light or a flash but that was so significant to me that I have no explanation what it was.
And did any insights come to you later, like through dreams?
What happened after that, and I started to, great question. What started to happen after that is because there seemed to be still a resonance of energy in the air, and I could see where it was, and I started to connect with it. And I feel what started to happen to me is I started to merge. I had a merging, and I started to describe my merging, and it was so beautiful. And it was support. The biggest word that came through was, you are supported. And I don't mean me. It wasn't me. It was you, humanity. You are supported. You are supported. And it was so warm. I felt warmth and loving, and I could feel this radiating light come down to me. And I started to share this with my friend, and she got scared because she didn't understand what merging meant. And she thought I was being taken over. So I could feel her fear a little bit, but I continued the merging a little bit. But what I got from that, more so than any time later, was that merging, was that it was an indication. It was definitely there to get our attention. Oh my gosh, without a doubt, to get our attention. And it was more like, I felt it was a light up, physically, personally, biologically, an activation, a light activation, but also a message that you are supported. You all are supported. That's what came through.
Yeah, thank you, Corinne. We're running short on time, but Rob has a question. Rob, if you'd like to.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, Corinne, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, first, just thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's really fascinating.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we've experienced flash bulbs like that as well, like massive, like as big as the moon. But one of my theories is that maybe they contain some form of light information. It's just a theory I have, that because generally after we sort of experience those, especially those specific type, and I know the ones that you mean, they're so bright that it's like a trillion watt flashlight going off in the sky. You can't mistake it. But when we sort of close the circle out and then go back in and either go to bed and dream, you have the most craziest dreams, like really vivid, and you wake up really confused as well. So, but that's just one of my theories, you know. I can't prove it, but
I agree with you, Rob. I do feel at that time when I was in it, I felt it was an activation, and the size was so big, like it was 100 times bigger than a full, like maybe like 100, 500 times bigger than a moon. It was so, it filled the whole sky in this circle. So I do feel like it, because the essence of it was light. And I had a good feeling, and I, checked in for sure, but I absolutely do agree. And I got that at the time. This is a light activation.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Great.
on some level,
All right,
yeah.
I'll go. Let someone else.
Thanks, Rob.
Chat.
Nice to
All
see
right,
you.
see you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? You can raise your hand, or you can just unmute and ask.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question.
Yes, Sabine.
You mentioned one of these words that were given to you, ascension. And is there anything more to it that was revealed to you? Or maybe I missed something when you explained about it.
Yeah, great question. I do feel that because it was the first word given to me, and because it was connected with that picture, and because that picture there's more closer and closer time with that picture appearing to me, that ascension is getting closer and closer. Whatever that means, I don't know what that means,
Okay.
but whatever that means, that timing, that I guess timing is because it's being shown to me is getting closer and closer. And so I wish I could be clear with you, but all of these things that are appear are, again, mysteries to me, but I can only translate it from what comes through and the timing of it. So if I see, and this is the 5th time I've seen it now, so if I see it again, I continue to understand that we're really, now, if I see it again, I'm going to feel that we're on the precipice of something.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, if I may, Corinne, I think you alluded to that your brother shared a bit more about what happened to him from the other side. Is that true?
I have had glimpses into his reality of him there. And I do feel, so what I get from him is that he wasn't him. He wasn't, he's not his human self, and he doesn't carry all of that, as we all do, all of our baggage with us. And he's his light self, and he has committed to being with me and being my teacher, but he has also, because he gave me a message, again, another message that came through to me was, he was an IT person here. So he said, there will be an interface. You will interface. I had no idea what that meant. There will be an interface. And what I understood with that is that, like, I have a blueprint, and I'll interface with another aspect, like a light aspect of myself. And there will be an interface that will happen that will be emerging of me. So what I get from him is more like messages from him in the language that he speaks. And him right now is light, he's joyful, he's free, and he's just being a committed part of my life. He's more distant now, but if I ever want to connect with him, and generally if I'm talking around him or about him, I can feel him, because it's like a call. It's like because when I feel him, one of the things he did say to me, which was so touching, he said, I am never, because of the physical, non-physical, me understanding these realms and me thinking you're in physical, I'll never see you again. He said, don't ever believe or think that I'm not with you. He said, I'm in every cell of your being. So we can never be apart. So that was really touching for me. And so when I bring him up and my cells feel him, I feel him. And that's what comes through to me. So I don't know if I exactly answered your question. He doesn't tell me what he's doing there. I just get more of how he's here to help me and facilitate me. Mm-hmm. But working, you know what? I will actually, because you asked that, it's funny. You know, when you ask a question, as soon as you ask a question, the answer appears. Because you asked that question, what I actually am getting, because he was so IT related, he's working on an IT related, he laughs. It's not like IT, like I'm working in front of a MacBook. It's not like that. It's more, he's working in the realms of energetics of helping the frequencies of this reality, especially my reality, in allowing my body to be able to resonate in a higher frequency, so I can interface, there that word's come again, interface in a way that I know is me. It's already there. It's just the revealing of it, it's the rediscovering it, it's the opening to it. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, it made. What I was referring to is if he committed suicide because he simply disappeared, or if he was disappeared the way David Politis talks about in his missing 411 cases, that all sorts of people just disappear and are never found again. But as long as he's fine and in the light and connecting with you, it might not really matter what exactly happened.
Oh, no, he did not commit suicide. His life was taken at the hands of another.
Okay.
As a result of a person's actions.
That's what I meant. Okay. So
Yeah.
not a mysterious or not a suicide. Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
And not that completely was clear at the end, but that's essentially what came out. He didn't. Yeah, it was at the hands of another.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Any other questions?
What does Bart say? I can't read his full question.
Let me read it out. There's an important cosmic alignment in 2025, which should make some necessary corrections on planetary level to make ascension possible again. Because the state the Earth is in right now, ascension is not possible according to the Keylontic teachings.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say on ascension, which has come to me, ascension is happening. Ascension is here. And I feel that is within each of us. And however we choose to be in that frequency. And I understand, Bart, what you're saying in terms of planetary, human, global consciousness, frequency, vibration aspect. I do feel things that are currently in place to lift that veil. As much information as we can go into on that, but I'll leave it at that. But I do feel as well, our biological being, that is our technology. We are our own technology, and we are the ones to activate it or not activate it. And we are the ones to ultimately say yes to the coherence, to the resonance, to being committed, dedicated to being in that high frequency. That's our responsibility. It comes back to us. I continuously get that. Hopi prophecy, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. There's a lot of prophecies happening right now. It's our responsibility as humanity to come to this space. So I'll just add that.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? I myself have so many questions, but these maybe other people have anything else. Yeah. Well, then I'd just like to say a big thank you to you, Corinne. And, meeting you. And then afterwards we started doing these first Saturday of the month, online CE5 Skywatch grids. And I just want to thank you also for being part of that team, because many people don't know, because I'm just the face, but there's a team of people who make it happen on many different levels. And now you've all met Corinne, and she's definitely one of the team. And it's happening again, of course, next weekend, Saturday, for the Northern Hemisphere, I guess, not Northern Hemisphere, but Europe and the US and Canada, and Sunday morning for New Zealanders. Yeah, Corinne, so much information, and it's really good to feel what you say. And what I'll do is I'll just close down the YouTube, and maybe there'll be some more communication after that.
Great. Thank you, Una. I want to give you a big thank you as well for having me on, and thank you to everyone who listened. And Celia and Elizabeth, thank you. I see your notes. So